The Halos deserve all of the tungsten arm O'Doyle tweets from this weekend. They should be sat down and showed every single one. We'll tell you why. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our second season here at Locked On Angels with you, and we are talking Angels baseball every Monday through Friday, every single weekday. You can count on us to be there for you, no matter how bad it gets with this team. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, we're going to be recapping each game of the week, including the series starting today against the Reds. Hopefully, we'll see what the news is with the weather and whatnot, but you know, they're expected to play the Reds, which should be an exciting series. On today's show, we're recapping the weekend series against the Rays. But before we get to that weekend series, Mike, there was something that was exciting on Friday, and that was the debut of Nolan Schanuel coming up to play first base for the Halos in the absence of CJ Cron, who went on the 10-day IL. Also, Anthony Rendon, it was a retroactive 60-day IL, but he wouldn't even be eligible to come back to like mid-September.
Yeah.
So, in light of all of that, we got Logan O'Hoppe back and Nolan Schanuel this weekend. Yeah.
That was our good news from the weekend, and I was excited to see Nolan play. Just a reminder, he was the 11th overall pick in the draft. 3 months ago? I mean, this guy,
6 weeks ago.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago, right? 21 years old. Went to Florida Atlantic University, had a really great season there. 370, 510, 493, and 21 minor. I'm sorry, and that was in minor league games. He actually was really rocking it there. And then he was promoted really fast through the Angels organization. In fact, coming up to the major leagues, the promotion was one of the quickest. The last U.S.-born player to debut within 40 days of being drafted was Texas pitcher Jerry Don Gleaton, 1979, the one and only Jerry Don Gleaton. and then the last position player was Toronto catcher Brian Milner in 1978. Johnny, you have a story that you were telling me off air about your favorite reliever for the Angels, Hobie Milner.
Hobie Milner's dad is Brian Milner, the one that you just mentioned. Hobie Milner was a reliever that drove me insane with the Angels. And apparently, if you go look at his stats, he's rocking like a 2.10 ERA for the Brewers right now. He's got like 3 holds in his last 5 games. So, yeah, I wonder how that happens, Mike.
This is my shock face.
A guy goes from the Angel system to another system and turns into a stud. What a shocker.
Yeah. Schanuel had a pretty good weekend. I mean, for being a guy who just 6 weeks ago got drafted, 12 at-bats, 3 hits, 4 runs scored, 2 walks, 1 K. Johnny, what stood out to you specifically watching Schanuel on the offensive side?
Yeah, so before everything fell apart this weekend, in that first game, what stood out to me was that there were 2 on, 2 out, bottom of the order, and then both the 8 and 9 hitters were on, and Schanuel comes up to bat, right? And he works a full count walk, Mike. So it went to 3 and 2, and he worked the walk, bases loaded for Shohei Ohtani, who then hits a grand slam and puts the Angels up 5-1 at that point. And we'll talk about how the Angels completely blew that, just like they blew everything else, and the Angels blow. So he works the walk and gets Ohtani the opportunity to hit that grand slam with 2 outs. Now, I think I might have texted you. I said, literally anybody else who's leading off in front of Ohtani goes up in that situation. It's an out or strike 3, ends the inning. Ohtani comes up the next inning with the bases empty, and maybe he still hits a home run, but then it's only 2-1 as opposed to 5-1. Mike, that to me made all the difference in the world to see somebody like Schanuel work that walk and prioritize getting on base, knowing how to do his job.
Yes.
Because his job is not to swing away and get a hit so that Ohtani comes up. It's to get on base any way you can so Ohtani comes up. So he knew that his priority wasn't putting the ball in play or getting a base hit. It was, how can I get on base so that Shohei Ohtani can come up and do damage behind me? I thought that was fantastic. What did you see about Nolan?
Well, offensively, Johnny, what I like about him is that he's an all across the outfield hitter. Like, he can spray it anywhere. And I've talked often on this pod about having a Luis Ariz type of hitter on this team. I think Schanuel's the guy. I think he's the guy to be able to do that for us. Obviously, he's got a lot of work to do because he is just 6 weeks out of the draft and played in the minor leagues for just a hot second. And so I don't think we need to get disappointed or, hey, where's his power? All of that stuff. That stuff's going to come, right?
Yeah. Well, and he's 22 years old and his body is not even done developing yet. Like, he's going to add power. In fact, all of his scouting reports say, like, he's got the ability to add power to his game. So everybody's screaming about his ground ball rate and not hitting for power. And he's 22. Like, look at Trout when he debuted versus Trout now. Like, he added a ton of mass and muscle over the length of his career. So that's the same thing is going to happen with Schanuel. He's going to add power. Joe Adell, added like 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Like, massive. It's possible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I liked Schanuel on defense, Johnny. 2 plays was, one, that triple play when, we'll talk about that in the game. But I think honestly, the runner at third for the Rays thought, I got a rookie at first base. I got a guy who's not played much. And so I'm going to take advantage of this guy. And Schanuel was alert and aware. And I think back earlier this year with like Drury at first base, there were moments where he just wasn't alert and aware, right? And same thing with Rengifo when he didn't hustle and then got benched because of that. Like, Schanuel has come out and is Zach Neto. Like, he's out there hustling. He's out there aware. He's alert. I like that about him. And I like that about Neto. And then another defensive play, there was a strikeout and it went to the backstop. And Theis went back to grab it, and he kind of threw it sidearm down to first, and Schanuel had to sidestep but tag the bag, and his footwork was so smooth. Yeah. And that just comes with a lot of work, right? But you could just tell that he has put in the work, and he's just this naturally athletic guy. And so he stepped on the bag, moved out of the way. And so those were the 2 moves that I really loved. I actually saw a great tweet. I wasn't sure if it was from Brett McGuire or somebody else, but somebody compared Schanuel to Nick Johnson. You remember Nick Johnson played for the Yankees for a bit. Nick had the same batting stance. He did end up hitting for some power, but he was always around the 280 to 300 mark. And then, of course, Schanuel being a first baseman reminded me of his quick swing of Darren Erstad, and Erstad used to spray it all over the place too. So I really like this kid, and I love that they're giving him a shot. There's this like, oh, we're still playing for the playoffs narrative that's still in there. Quite honestly, I just love that he's up. He's not going to lose his rookie status, which is great. And he'll be able to get some at-bats, and he'll be our starting first baseman if all things go well next season when we start 2024, which I think would be a brilliant move.
Yeah, it's kind of nice they're getting to look at him now versus making it a guessing game next season because, Zach Neto didn't come up last year, and there was kind of a question mark of like, oh, I wonder when he'll be ready. And then they brought him up, and that was about, a little less than a month into the season.
Yep.
But it was necessary, and it was a good move. And so it's kind of nice they're giving Nolan a major league look now. Also, I want to point this out. Next time Nolan Schanuel is up to the plate, Mike, tell me his stance doesn't look like Ohtani's stance.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of similarity. That upright bat, like I know Ohtani's pulls his back, but yeah, it's funny to see that.
This is just for you and me. So if you're watching or listening, you can pay attention if you like. But Johnny, Nolan Schanuel reminded me of one of the left-handed batters on Ken Griffey Jr.'s bases loaded baseball game.
Yes.
Where the guy would have the bat really high up, and he would be like this really skinny guy, but he'd have a lot of power. And so just thought I'd share that with you. Brother to brother.
That's right. Played a lot of that on the Super Nintendo.
I loved that game. It was so good.
Hey, the Angels are playing the Reds, hopefully tonight, 6:38 Pacific time. And if anything changes, obviously they'll put it on Twitter and stuff, but we'll post it on Twitter. We'll post it here on a YouTube post. If you're watching the video side, you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, we'll tell you why the Halos earned all the tungsten arm tweets that came their way this weekend. We're going to talk about all of that coming right up. Hey, today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. With the Game Time app, buying tickets is fast and easy. Game Time has deals on tickets right up until the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater. Everything you could want is right there on the Game Time app. In fact, I mentioned this last week. I got Counting Crows and Dashboard Confessional tickets for the YouTube theater in about 2 weeks here. And I got them on Game Time, Mike, and they were super affordable, super cheap, super easy, and super fast too. And the nice thing is that they are very good at following up on the confirmation emails. And so those tickets, of course, were resold, and they're right there in my Ticketmaster account. So that happened all because of Game Time.
Love that.
The Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price and event cancellation protection. On the Game Time app, you can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. You can see images of your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to dig through email. Like I said, super convenient. They send it right to where it needs to go. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less than what you paid for, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Grab tickets without the stress on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. You're going to want to do that. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, Locked On Everydayers, join us every day this week. We're going to recap all of the games, give you a detailed account of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully there's more good than ugly. And the Angels are planning on playing the Reds at 6:38 Pacific time tonight. Catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Michael, Friday was infuriating to me.
Yep.
The Angels lost 9-6.
Yep.
And it was after a Ohtani grand slam, a triple play, the return of Logan O'Hoppe, the clutch debut of Nolan Schanuel.
Yep.
And they still lost, Mike. And what is most infuriating to me, it's not the tungsten arm tweets. The Angels, bury Angel fans all you want, people.
Right.
That's like this is nothing new, right?
By the way, that's what those are about, though. Angel fans is they tweet, "Hey, Ohtani did this, and this happened, and the Angels still lost." They do that for traction. They do that because they know that Angel fans are going to jump on those tweets and say, "Well, you have to do right." So don't take the bait,
like I did this weekend.
Right? Yes, I'm talking to you, John. I wasn't talking to anybody else.
I got in arguments with other Angel fans. It was like, "What are you talking about?"
I'll address that in a minute, but go ahead.
Okay, so listen. It was infuriating to me because I was just watching the game from home, and I could feel the atmosphere in the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different. Yep. You and I had talked about, because we got a question about like, hey, maybe the players need like a standing O. You know what I mean? And so we had that conversation last week. Then we get to the game, and like Schanuel's there.
Yep.
And O'Hoppe's back. And they work this walk and hit this grand slam, and they turn a triple play and all this stuff. The energy in the stadium. Shout out to you, Angel fans, because you brought it Friday.
Yep.
And then the Angels did every single thing they could do to let you down and suck the air harder than a hurricane could suck the air out of that stadium, Mike.
Rock you like a hurricane.
Yeah, no kidding. Because they totally deflated all the energy and enthusiasm that was there that Angel fans brought. So props to you, Angel fans. Props to you if you were at the game, because I felt the energy. It was palpable just watching it on TV. And Tyler Anderson and the bullpen, they all did their best to let you down, which the Angels have done all season long.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Tyler Anderson, Johnny. Talk about just pulling a Joe Blanton. I mean, this guy went 4 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 Ks, 81 pitches in 4 innings. And Johnny, the thing that really just hurts him is 3 of the first 4 innings, he gave up runs after getting 2 outs.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens regularly, not just with him. That happens with other pitchers too. There's no ability to shut down an offense. In fact, you sent me this from @MaxAirJordan1. It was a tweet.
Oh, I love Max.
And it said, if baseball was only 2 outs per inning, Tyler Anderson would be the second coming of Cy Young or whoever was the best pitcher in 1920. That was the greatest tweet from the weekend.
I love Max.
So good. Johnny, it was just frustrating. And then the bullpen came in and really...
Where's Hobie Milner when you need him?
Right. This loss is it's on Esty and it's on Nevin, right? Like I don't want to just say Esty. I don't want to just say Nevin. I think it's on both. Estevez came in the ninth, struggled. They did get that triple play. Johnny, I just don't think you bring him back out. I don't think you bring him back out because he's struggling. And he's really been struggling. I mean, the guy has given up a lot of runs in his last 7 games. In the month of August, in fact, his ERA is over 14, right? Yeah. Post the All-Star break, it's over 7.5. And this is before the All-Star break. It was 1.80. So I know that SD has struggled, and I don't want to throw all of the weight on him. I think him coming back out, he looked terrible. But Nevin actually running him back out, I get that maybe he was running low on arms in the bullpen, but then maybe a lot of this loss is on Tyler Anderson. Like, this is why we signed you, homie. Like, you can't go 4 innings. And I'm going to be just terrible towards Angels starting pitching this weekend because none of them were able to figure this out. None of them were able to move forward. None of them were able to be effective. And it was just incredibly, incredibly frustrating, right?
Even the game they won on Saturday was due to poor, like, batted ball luck.
Yeah.
Because they were up against Glassnet. We'll talk about it. But starters, nothing that the starters did this weekend was great.
Now, I got to say this. I know that you got into a discussion about Ohtani and you tweeted something out because there was the tungsten arm Doyle. Ohtani hits a grand slam and the Angels still lost, right? They turned for play. Angels still lost. And the point that you were making was that often it can be a Ohtani versus the Angels team. Like they're not losing together and they're not winning together. Right. And so what you pointed out was what it doesn't reference is that Ohtani was up in the 9th, bottom of the 9th, with a chance to win this game, and he struck out. Yeah. That was not to say that you don't appreciate him. That was not to say that all of this loss is on him. It was to say that those tweets, those tungsten tweets, are intentionally leaving out key moments of the game that are actually key moments of the game. And listen, I'm thankful that we were up 5-1 because he hit the grand slam. Yeah. I'm thankful for that. But I also want my all-star phenomenal player to be up in the 9th inning with runners on to try to win the game. Totally. And I want him to get a hit there. And I don't think that it's inappropriate for a fan to go, Ohtani, you got to come through there. Yeah. Ohtani, you got to make contact there, not strike out, right? And that's not because we hate him. It's not because we want him to do everything on this team. It's just referencing, like, I want our all-star to come through in that moment and people to tweet back and to say, well, Angel fans don't deserve Ohtani. No, because this is what Dodger fans, Yankee fans, Braves fans would do with their all-star.
And they'll do it come through. They'll do it a whole lot worse than any Angel fan would do.
Absolutely.
It too.
I got grief from a friend on Sunday who said, I can't wait till Ohtani comes to the Dodgers. And he goes, man, he hits a grand slam and you guys still lose. And I said, yeah, he was up in the bottom of the 9th and had a chance to win it. And it wasn't his fault that we lost this game, but he had an opportunity to win this game and that he didn't come through. And that was frustrating. So when those tweets come out, it strategically leaves out moments where the Angels could have come through. Yes, Grichuk should have bunted over the runners. Right. He should have made contact and moved those runners over. Right. Yes, he absolutely should have. They got so many opportunities to win that game, and they completely blew it. God was giving them a gift, and the Angels just blew the gift completely.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, okay, you put Ohtani in the 9th inning, and on YouTube, I'm putting my hands at a low level here. So if you're listening, this is where Ohtani doesn't get the hit in the 9th inning. And then on top of that, you've got Grichuk. And the other hitters who also had opportunities to get the hit. And then way up here, Mike, is Tyler Anderson. Don't give up a 5-1 lead, you bozo. So again, like, yes, under this, and under this is the, I wish Shohei would have come up clutch right there. So that's not the first thing that gets pointed out, and it's not the last thing
Yeah.
That gets pointed out. But I to your point, Mike, you watch if wherever Ohtani lands, if it's not the Angels, if this were the Dodgers, he would never hear the
they're going to trash him. They're going to eat him alive.
Trash him.
They're going to eat him alive.
Correct.
And they're going to be frustrated with him. And that's just going to be the reality of it. And then then Angel fans are going to go, well, yeah, I mean, like, he was fantastic. We loved him. It would have been great if he came through in some of those moments, but that's not us saying that this loss is on him, because it wasn't. This loss wasn't on him.
No, not at all.
This wasn't his fault, right? There were a lot of factors in this game, but one of those factors was the fact that Ohtani struck out, didn't move the runners over, didn't even make contact in that at bat. And so that's what's really frustrating about this whole thing. And what's really frustrating is we are asking Ohtani to do so much.
Yeah.
And the guy can't do it by himself.
He can't do it by himself.
Bunt the runners over. So do something.
Yeah.
Velasquez is at second and looked like he got picked off because the ball got hit back to the pitcher, and they called him safe. You got a gift there.
Yeah.
And what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You just fumbled it.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The Angels hitters, like nobody, for as much as Ohtani does, like, there's nobody around him stepping up.
No.
And it's just insane to me that this continues to go on.
All right, Johnny, let's talk about Saturday's game. And we heard early on, because of Hurricane Hillary, that they were going to move the Sunday game to Saturday. So it suddenly became a doubleheader. And game one, the Angels actually won 7-6, which
I got all my misery out of the way on Saturday. It was fantastic.
Right. But it wasn't a great start for Angel pitching. And I know Chase Silseth has been really good in his last few starts, but not in this one. 2 2/3, 5 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks, 77 pitches. Glasnow wasn't great for the Rays, but here's the difference between our starters and other teams' starters. Glasnow had the same amount of pitches in 5 innings, not in 3 innings. And he was able to actually go to the 6th inning. And the issue in this game, Johnny, was the Angels struggled with shutdown innings. They scored 4 in the bottom of the 3rd. Then they gave up 3 in the top of the 4th. They scored 1 in the bottom of the 4th, and they gave it back in the top of the 5th. And that's just been the game. In fact, Tampa Bay, they had on their broadcast, their broadcaster said, boy, when you're playing the Angels lately, you never feel like you're out of the game. And they're exactly right.
That's like the ultimate indictment of the Angels. And Mike, that's the other part of it. It was like, we talk about how frustrating it can be for the Angels pitching to get dinky dude. That's what was going on with Tyler Glasnow. He had he had a couple he gave a couple bloop hits. The first baseman gets a pop up and it hits off of his glove, and he kept his composure, he kept his cool, and he still managed to get through 5 innings. Because Glasnow is a professional starting pitcher,
right?
And the reason why the Angels were able to pile on in the beginning of the game was because there were a ton of miscues on the Rays, and
Rays made mistakes.
You should take advantage of those. Good teams take advantage of those mistakes, but a team that isn't usually as sloppy as the Rays were, you're not going to score those runs in any normal circumstance.
Right.
So the Angels were, like you said, in Friday's game, gifted second base. They were gifted opportunities on Saturday. Canning came in and relieved Silseth in this one. He settled things down. He went 3 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, only 1 run, 5 Ks. He got the win, his 7th win of the season. On offense, Brandon Drury hit his 16th home run. He had 3 hits in this one. Grichuk had 2 RBIs and also robbed a home run early on in the game.
Great play.
So that's the other thing. It's like, okay, Grichuk is starting to be the guy that we expected when we traded for him 3 weeks ago. Way to go. He robbed that home run. Moniak and Theis each had an RBI, which is great. Ronaldo Lopez got the save, his 6th of the year and his 2nd with the Halos. And I would have gone to Lopez in this game too, given everything that happened the night before. And then game 2 happened.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
It was terrible. 18-4. Johnny, the key in this game, top of the 5th, Jordan Adams, he is running in, Drury's running out, and Adams, you could tell like it was going to be tough. And so he comes running in and the ball bounces out of his glove. Would have been the final out.
Yeah.
And then Sandoval, who's on the mound, gives up 3 more hits and 4 more runs after that.
Right.
So I'm texting with Locked On Everyday Eric Cope. And he texted me. He's a former ball player and coach. And he said, I loved it when the opposing pitcher got emotional because then we knew, we're going to get some hits. And that's the difference between Sandoval and Glasnow. Sandy just lost his composure. And he does that so often. And even when he tries in body language to make it look like he's not losing his composure.
It's so obvious.
It's way too obvious. He's a terrible faker. And he lost his composure. 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 100 pitches. That error actually cost him another 25 pitches. I get having an error is terrible. But isn't the pitcher the guy that can go, I'm gonna pick you up, rookie. I'm gonna make this happen, rookie. But he wasn't able to do any of that stuff. And then they bring in Jaime Barria, and Barria's just been throwing cookies in his last few outings, and he just hasn't been great. Gives up a total of 9 runs. John, doesn't it seem like the Angels avoided some of these moments earlier this year that suddenly feel so unavoidable for them?
It's all the stuff I feel like we complained about last year with young guys or, recycled players from other systems that we picked up on the waiver wire doing stuff like this. I mean, Mike, Jordan Adams is a Billy Epler guy. He's athletic. He's talented. He could play basketball. I think there's a video of him slam dunking a basketball.
He could be a running back. That boy is built.
He could be a running back. Mike, it's yet another athletic dude that Billy Epler thought he could teach how to play baseball. That's really what it comes down to. And that's what we're running into here with all these Billy guys. Show me the difference between a Joe Adell and a Jordan Adams, and I'll show you Zach Neto and Nolan Schanuel. Yeah. Right? Like these are ball players. I think of my friend and your friend, Mark, who played softball with us. Like that dude played baseball from Little League and even semi-pro baseball. And the reason why is he was a gritty player. Wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the largest guy. He was gritty and gutsy and was all over the field. He could play anywhere. And those are the dudes that Zach Neto and Nolan Schanuel are likely to be in their careers. Jordan Adams, Joe Adell, talented athletic dudes, like they could beat us up, right? But what I'm saying is like,
I'm not saying this to their face.
But mentally, like Schanuel and Neto, like those are baseball dudes.
Yes.
At the end of the day. And I think about like Barria coming in. Look, who are you going to turn to in this moment?
Right.
And you texted me before the game, gee, the Angels really want to win today, don't they? Because the text message was they brought Jimmy Herget in as the 27th man. In the doubleheader, you can have a 27-man roster. And so you had all these relief arms available, and they bring up Jimmy Herget to pitch out of the bullpen. Yeah. After you spent your entire bullpen on Friday and earlier on Saturday. I don't get it. And if there was any indication that, number one, the Angels deserve all the tungsten arm tweets directed at them. Number two, this team sorely let down its fans this weekend. And number three, they're not going anywhere.
No.
And they finally, I said it last week, Mike, I said, who am I watching on this team? What am I watching for? Well, Schanuel being there, Logan O'Hoppe being back, hopefully Mike Trout comes, like at least there's some stuff to watch. Obviously, Ohtani's part of that conversation too, but like a week ago, there wasn't anything to watch. Right. That was fun about this team. And now that Schanuel's there, O'Hoppe's back, Ohtani, hopefully Trout soon. There's stuff to watch, but I mean, they're not going anywhere. It's not happening.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, the Angels are planning on playing the Reds at 6:38 Pacific time, and there might be some tweets if the game is postponed. We'll let you know. Catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. And if anything comes up about tonight's game or anything else about the series, we'll let you know on YouTube and our socials. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Johnny, there's one stat that proves that Shohei Ohtani needs Mike Trout behind him in this lineup. And we're going to share that one stat with you tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation. We hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Did we just have a Mark Deniston reference on the show? How about that?
Yeah, we did. Shout out Mark.
Marky Mark.